Can someone please help me find my cane? 10-year-old Liam's voice cracked as he stood in the middle of Sunrise Beans Café, hands trembling, tears streaming down his face. The three boys behind him just laughed harder, phones recording every second of his humiliation. Derek had kicked his white cane across the room. Mason was clapping mockingly, yelling echolocate it like a bat. And the worst part, 15 adults sat watching, sipping their lattes, doing absolutely nothing. Until the window started vibrating. Until 12 motorcycles pulled into the parking lot. Until a man called Bear walked through that door and asked one simple question that would change everything. Who made this boy cry? Here's what you need to know before this gets intense. If you believe that real heroes don't always look like what society expects, that courage means standing up when everyone else stays silent, and that sometimes the scariest looking people turn out to be the most compassionate, stay with this story. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because what happens in the next 9 minutes will restore your faith that good people still exist. Even in the most unexpected packages. The boy who heard everything. Liam Carter was born blind. Congenital visual impairment that left him with only vague impressions of light and shadow. No faces. No colors. No visual memories most people take for granted. But what he lacked in sight, he'd gained in sound. Perfect pitch. The ability to echolocate using small clicking sounds. An internal map of spaces built entirely from acoustics and memory. At 10 years old, he dreamed of becoming an audio engineer, creating movie soundtracks, mixing albums, building worlds out of nothing but frequencies and reverb. His teachers said he had a gift. His mother said he was special. Liam just thought of it as his normal. Every Saturday for 2 years, he'd visited Sunrise Beans Café on the corner of Maple and 3rd in Riverside, Oregon. The kind of cozy coffee shop with exposed brick walls, mismatched furniture, and the smell of cinnamon rolls baking in the back. He loved the sound of the espresso machine. That perfect 3-second hiss. The clink of ceramic cups. The murmur of conversations creating layers of white noise he could filter and analyze. But today was different. Today, for the first time, he'd come alone. His mother, Sarah, had finally agreed after months of him begging to practice independence. 6 blocks from their apartment, his white cane tapping rhythms on the sidewalk, his noise-canceling headphones blocking the overwhelming chaos of street traffic until he reached the cafe's door. The bell chimed. E-flat, he'd determined months ago. And he stepped inside, folding his cane with practiced precision. 3 clicks. Tucked into his backpack. Liam, Marcus, the owner, called from behind the counter. Flying solo today, buddy? Mom said I could if I promised to text her. Liam smiled, navigating to his usual table near the window, the one where afternoon sunlight hit his face around 2 o'clock. He loved that warmth. Marcus brought him his usual, hot chocolate with extra whipped cream, made extra loud so Liam could enjoy the sound of the steam wand. The staff adored him. Regular customers knew his name. This place felt safe. What Liam couldn't see, couldn't hear yet, was the door opening again. 3 boys from his school stepping inside, scanning the cafe, spotting him sitting alone. Derek Morrison, 13, held back a year, the kind of kid who compensated for insecurities by making others feel small. His sidekick Mason Reed laughed at everything Derek did, even when it made him uncomfortable. Tyler Banks just followed along because being part of the group felt safer than being alone. They slid into the booth directly behind Liam's table, close enough to mess with him, close enough to film it. Derek pulled out his phone, opened TikTok, pressed record. Watch this, he whispered. This is gonna be hilarious. When cruelty gets recorded. Yo, Derek said, voice just loud enough for his phone's microphone. Check out blind kid over there. Bet he doesn't even know where he is. Mason snickered. Tyler looked away, already regretting being there, but too afraid to leave. Liam heard them, recognized Derek's voice immediately. That nasally tone that always preceded trouble at school. His stomach tightened. His hand moved instinctively toward his backpack. Maybe if he stayed quiet, they'd leave him alone. Hey, Liam, Derek called out, fake friendly. Didn't know you came here. You here all by yourself? Liam didn't respond. Experience had taught him that engaging only made things worse. Dude, he's ignoring us, Mason said too loud. That's rude. We're just being friendly. Derek leaned forward, reached under Liam's table, tapped the leg with his shoe. The vibration traveled through the floor. Liam felt it, his senses hyper-attuned to every input. Did you drop something? Derek asked innocently. I think you dropped something. Liam knew this game. Knew it from years of middle school cruelty. But his cane was in his backpack. He hadn't dropped anything. I'm fine. Thank you. Nah, dude, I definitely heard something fall. Derek kicked the table leg harder. The sound echoed through Liam's awareness like a gunshot. Other customers glanced over, saw what was happening. Most looked away. The calculus of intervention too complicated. The risk of confrontation too high. Nobody wanted to get involved. Marcus was behind the counter making drinks, his back turned, unaware. Derek pulled Liam's backpack off the adjacent chair, unzipped it, and pulled out the folded white cane. "Oh, this is what I heard. Your little stick thing." Liam's breath caught. "Please give that back." "Give what back? I'm just helping you, man." Derek extended the cane fully. Click, 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 then set it on the floor and kicked it across the cafe. It clattered against the far wall. The sound made Liam flinch. "Oops," Derek said into his phone camera. "Butterfingers." Mason laughed too loud, trying to convince himself this was funny. Tyler stared at his hands, recording but hating himself for it. Liam stood up, his chair scraping back. His hands were shaking, his face was hot. "Can someone please help me find my cane?" His voice cracked on the last word. If you've ever felt helpless, if you've ever watched someone being hurt and didn't know what to do, you understand what happened next. Because sometimes evil wins when good people do nothing. But not today. Not in this cafe. Stay with this. Derek smirked at his phone. Maybe if you clap, he can echolocate it. Isn't that what bats do? He started clapping. Slow, mocking claps that echoed through the cafe. Mason joined in, his claps faster, more aggressive. The other customers watched. Some looked uncomfortable. One woman pulled out her phone, but nobody moved. Nobody intervened. Liam stood there, alone in the middle of a cafe he'd thought was safe, tears streaming down his face, his hands reaching out into empty space, trying to find his cane, trying to find his way out, trying to find anyone who would help. "Please," he whispered. "Please stop. I just want to go home." Derek laughed louder, angling his phone to capture Liam's tears. This is gold. This is going viral. And that's when the window started vibrating. The rumble that changed everything. A deep, rolling thunder that grew louder with each second. The distinctive roar of motorcycle engines. Multiple engines. A sound that made conversation impossible and turned every head toward the front of the cafe. 12 motorcycles pulled into the parking lot in perfect formation. Harleys. Indians. A custom chopper that looked like it belonged in a museum. They parked in a precise line, engines cutting off in sequence, silence falling like a curtain. The riders dismounted. 12 of them. Leather vests with patches. Iron Riders MC, established 1987, Riverside chapter. Most in their 50s and 60s, a few younger, all carrying themselves with the quiet confidence of people who'd seen enough of life to know what mattered. The leader was a man called Bear, 6'4", 280 pounds of muscle and presence. Silver beard braided down his chest, arms covered in tattoos documenting 30 years of brotherhood. Blue eyes surprisingly gentle for a man who looked like he could bend steel bars. Behind him, a woman named Mama Jo, 5'2", 63 years old, gray hair in a long braid, leather vest covered in patches from charity rides. She'd been a trauma nurse for 40 years before retiring to volunteer with children who had disabilities. The group walked toward Sunrise Beans like they owned the world, but didn't need to prove it. Bear pulled open the door. The bell chimed E-flat, and the bikers filed in, filling the small cafe with their presence. The first thing Bear noticed was Liam, standing in the middle of the floor, tears on his face, hands outstretched, lost. The second thing he noticed was 3 boys in a booth, one holding a phone pointed at Liam. The third thing he noticed was a white cane lying against the far wall. Mama Jo saw Liam and froze. "That's Liam Carter. I know him from the youth center." Bear's jaw tightened. He looked around the cafe with the practiced eye of someone who'd spent decades reading rooms and situations. He saw the other customers looking away. Saw Marcus behind the counter just now realizing what was happening. Saw the 3 boys suddenly very aware they'd made a terrible miscalculation. Bear's voice, when he spoke, wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Who made this boy cry? The cafe went silent. Even the espresso machine seemed to hold its breath. Derek's phone was still recording. His hands started shaking. When angels wear leather. Bear walked past the boys without looking at them. Walked directly to where Liam's cane lay against the wall. Picked it up with both hands like it was something sacred. Examined it for damage, found none, and walked it over to where Liam stood. He stopped 3 feet away. Close enough to help. Far enough not to overwhelm. "Son," Bear said, his voice gentle now. "I've got your cane. I'm going to hand it to you. I'm right in front of you, about 3 feet away.
Liam's head turned toward the voice. Who are you? Name's Bear. I'm a friend of Mama Joe's. You know Mama Joe from the community center, right? Recognition flashed across Liam's face. She reads audiobooks for us. That's right. She's here too. We're all here. And nobody's gonna bother you anymore. Bear extended the cane. Liam reached out, found it, gripped it like a lifeline. Thank you, he whispered. Mama Joe moved forward then, kneeling in front of Liam so her voice would come from his level. Hey, sweetheart. It's Mama Joe. You okay? Liam's face crumpled. He shook his head. Come here. She opened her arms, and Liam fell into them, crying for real now. The kind of crying that comes when you finally feel safe enough to fall apart. The other bikers moved without being told, forming a protective semicircle around Liam and Mama Joe. Not aggressive, not threatening, just present. A wall of leather and loyalty between this child and anyone who might hurt him.
This is what real protection looks like. Not violence, not threats, just presence. Just people who refuse to look away when someone needs help. If this resonates with you, if you believe the world needs more of this, keep watching, because what happens next will define these boys' futures. Bear turned to face the three boys in the booth. Derek had lowered his phone. Mason's fake smile had vanished. Tyler was staring at the table like he wanted to disappear into it. Bear walked over to their booth, didn't sit, just stood there, looking down at them with an expression that wasn't angry but somehow worse, disappointed. You three, he said quietly. You think what you just did was funny. Derek opened his mouth, closed it, couldn't find words. You recorded a disabled child crying. You kicked his mobility device away from him. You humiliated someone who couldn't defend himself. And you thought that would make a good video. Bear's voice stayed level, but every word landed like a hammer. Mason looked like he might throw up. Do you understand what you did? Do you understand what it means to take away someone's independence? To make them feel helpless and alone in a place they should feel safe? Tyler found his voice. We're sorry. We didn't mean. You didn't mean to. Bear's voice didn't rise, but it hardened. You didn't accidentally kick his cane across the room. You didn't accidentally mock him. You chose to be cruel. All three of you made a choice. One of the other bikers, a man called Preacher who'd been a school counselor before retiring, stepped forward. Where are your parents? Home. Derek mumbled. Call them. Now, tell them to come pick you up, and tell them why. I don't want to. Call them. Preacher's tone left no room for argument. You're going to tell them exactly what you did. You're going to show them that video. And you're going to face consequences like men instead of running away like cowards. The boys pulled out their phones with shaking hands. The reckon. Marcus, the cafe owner, approached with Liam's hot chocolate, extra whipped cream, exactly as promised. He set it on Liam's table, then turned to the bikers. Their drinks are on me. All of yours. Thank you for stepping in when I should have. You didn't know, Bear said, but now you do. And next time, you'll act sooner. Marcus nodded, shame and gratitude mixing on his face. Mama Joe got Liam settled back at his table, the hot chocolate in front of him, his cane secure in his hand. She sat across from him, just keeping him company, letting him know he wasn't alone. The other bikers spread out through the cafe, taking seats, ordering coffee, normalizing the space, making it clear they weren't leaving until Liam was safe. Bear pulled up a chair at Liam's table. You mind if I sit here for a bit? Liam shook his head. You didn't have to help me. Yeah, we did. That's what people do. That's what people are supposed to do. Most people don't. Bear was quiet for a moment. You're right. Most people don't. But that doesn't mean you deserved what happened. You didn't do anything wrong. They did. And they're going to face consequences. Derek's mother arrived 20 minutes later. A small woman in scrubs. A nurse coming off a shift. And the look on her face when Derek explained what happened was devastating. Not anger, heartbreak. She apologized to Liam, to his mother, who'd arrived within minutes of getting Marcus's text, to the bikers, to the entire cafe. I didn't raise him to be like this, she said, tears in her eyes. Bear put a hand on her shoulder. You've got time to figure it out. But he needs consequences. Real ones. And he needs to understand that strength isn't about making others feel small. It's about lifting people up. The aftermath that went viral. Derek was grounded for 3 months. His phone confiscated. Required to volunteer 20 hours at the community center where Mama Joe worked, helping children with disabilities. Mason's parents made him delete his social media accounts and write a formal apology to Liam, read aloud in front of the entire school. Tyler, who'd been the most reluctant participant, started sitting with Liam at lunch. Not because he was forced to, because he'd learned what it felt like to be complicit. And he never wanted to feel that way again. The bullying video never went online. Derek's mother made him delete it in front of her. But a different video did go viral. Marcus had security cameras in the cafe. The footage showed everything. The bullying, the bikers entering, Bear's gentle handling of the cane, Mama Joe's comfort, the protective circle around Liam. A customer asked Marcus if she could share it. Marcus asked Liam's mother. She said yes. Within 48 hours, the video had 17 million views. The comment section exploded. This is what real men look like. Society judges people by appearance, but these bikers showed more humanity than anyone else. The way he picked up that cane like it was sacred. I'm crying. News outlets picked up the story. Iron Riders MC received thousands of messages from around the country. Donations to their charity rides increased by 300%. But the most important change was local. This is the part that matters most. Because what happened next proves that one act of courage can change an entire community. If you're still with us, drop a comment saying real heroes and share this story. Let's show the world what standing up looks like. Sunrise Beans started a new policy. If you see someone being bullied or harassed, you speak up. We protect our community. No exceptions. Other businesses in Riverside followed suit. The school district implemented mandatory empathy training, bringing in speakers about disability, diversity, and the importance of standing up rather than standing by. And Liam, he kept coming to Sunrise Beans every Saturday. Sometimes with his mom, sometimes alone.
But now, he was never truly alone. Because every Saturday, at least 3 members of Iron Riders MC showed up for coffee. Different members on rotation, but always someone there. Not hovering. Not making a show of it. Just present. Bear became a regular fixture at Liam's table. The two of them talking about sound engineering, about motorcycles, about life. Mama Jo brought Liam audiobooks about famous audio engineers, about people who'd overcome obstacles, about heroes who didn't wear capes but wore leather vests instead. 3 years later. One Saturday, 6 months after the incident, Liam showed up with a surprise. I made something, he told Bear, pulling out a USB drive. It's a soundscape of the Café. I recorded all the sounds and mixed them into a composition. I wanted you to hear what I hear. Bear plugged the drive into his phone. What came out was beautiful. Layers of espresso machines and conversation and footsteps and laughter, all woven together into something that was more than sound. It was emotion. It was belonging. It was home. That's incredible, Bear said, his voice thick. You've got a real gift, son. I'm going to apply to audio engineering programs when I'm older. I think I can do it. I know you can do it. 3 years later, Liam, now 13, stood on a small stage at the community center's annual fundraiser. In front of him, a mixing board and speakers. Behind him, projected images of soundscape waveforms. I'm going to play you something, he told the audience. It's called The Day Angels Wore Leather. It's about the day I learned that heroes don't always look like what you expect. Sometimes they ride motorcycles. Sometimes they have tattoos and scars and voices that sound like thunder, but they show up when you need them. They stand between you and cruelty. They remind you that you matter. He pressed play. The composition started with the sound of espresso machines and cafe chatter. Then came the rumble of motorcycle engines growing louder, becoming part of the rhythm. Then Bear's voice, sampled from that day. Who made this boy cry? The piece built from there, weaving together sounds of comfort and protection, of strength used for good instead of harm. When it ended, the audience stood and applauded. In the front row, 12 members of Iron Riders MC stood with them, wiping tears from weathered faces. Mama Jo hugged Liam tight. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. I wouldn't be here without you. None of you. Bear knelt down, even though Liam was nearly as tall as him now, and put his hands on the boy's shoulders. You were always going to be here. You've always had this strength in you. We just made sure the world didn't crush it before you had a chance to grow. The message that changes everything. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that kindness is stronger than cruelty and courage comes in unexpected forms, do 3 things right now. First, subscribe. Stories like this need to reach people who've forgotten that ordinary people can be extraordinary. That the scariest looking individuals might be the most compassionate. That real strength is standing up for those who can't defend themselves. Second, share this everywhere. Tag someone who works with children. Tag someone who needs to remember that good people exist. Tag someone who looks different but has the biggest heart. Let this story reach every corner of the internet. Third, comment real heroes if you believe that standing up for others is never the wrong choice. If you've ever been the person who needed help, or if you've ever been the person who gave it. Be the bear in someone's life. Be the person who picks up the cane and hands it back with care. Be the one who asks, who made this boy cry? And actually waits for an answer. Be the one who shows up when it matters. Because here's the truth they don't teach you in school. You don't need a motorcycle or a leather vest or tattoos to make a difference. You just need to refuse to look away when someone needs help. You just need to choose compassion over comfort. You just need to stand up when everyone else sits down. The world doesn't need more bystanders. It needs more bears, more Mama Jos, more people who understand that humanity isn't about how you look. It's about what you do when someone is hurting. Record kindness, not cruelty. Stand up. Don't stand by. Be the person who makes the world safer for the vulnerable. Thank you for watching. Now, go be someone's hero today.